The Grizzlies announced that they have acquired Patrick Beverley, Rajon, Rondo, and center Daniel Oturue from the LA Clippers in exchange for the recently acquired Eric Bledsoe. Here to break it all down with me is Chris Herrington, columnist and editor at the Daily Memphian. Now, Chris, I'll start by asking your thoughts on this deal overall.
Well, not unlike a lot of trades in the NBA these days, it's really financially motivated more than player motivated. And I know that can be unsatisfying to fans, but that's really what this is primarily about. From the Clippers' perspective, they save money right now. And since they were above the NBA's luxury tax line, that means they saved a lot of money. From the Grizzlies' perspective, they essentially took in more salary for this season in order to take off salary for next season. Eric Bledsoe had $4 million guaranteed in the 2022-2023 season. So next summer, when the Grizzlies may have wanted to get back into free agency, and in doing this trade, they were able to take all of that money off their books. And obviously there are things to be sorted out with the players involved, but this was really a salary contract trade for both teams.
Now, you touched on it there. Conventional wisdom tells us that this move is not going to stay as is, that there are going to be moves to follow as well. Who do you think is most likely among this trio to be on the court for the Grizzlies come October?
Oh, I think Patrick Beverley is the most likely of the three to play games in the Grizzlies uniform. I think there's very little chance you ever see Rajon Rondo in a Grizzlies uniform, and I would expect his situation to be clarified probably, before training camp, certainly, whether that's a trade or more likely some kind of buyout situation. I think Daniel Oturue is a player who I think there's just a numbers problem with him. This is a team that already has a lot of young bigs under contract, from Jaren Jackson Jr. down to Xavier Tillman and Santi Aldama and Killian Tilly. There's really a numbers crunch there. I think Patrick Beverley is someone you could see, theoretically going into the season with the Grizzlies. To me, it's not unlike a couple years ago when they traded Chandler Parsons for a couple of players, ended up cutting one and keeping the other. The one they kept was Solomon Hill, who they carried into the season as sort of a veteran role player on an expiring contract. It would not be surprising to me to see Patrick Beverley play a role both as a player and as a contract on the books, not unlike Solomon Hill did a couple of years ago.
Now, probably two of the biggest disruptors in the league last year, Dillon Brooks and Patrick Beverley, both defensively and in terms of on the court, just irritating other teams. What do you think that'll look like next year if you have both of those guys on this squad? Other teams going to hate coming into FedEx Forum?
Oh, I think if and when you see those players together, I mean, that will be entertaining for Grizzlies fans. That will be intriguing, I think, for basketball fans in general. If Patrick Beverley does make the roster, I don't expect him to play a big role. I mean, Dillon Brooks is going to be, a top three player on the team. I think Beverley would be a guy coming off the bench. And it's not clear to me that even if he makes the team, he would play above Tyus Jones or DeAnthony Melton, who already are sort of backup guards on the team. And so I think it's probably 50-50 whether Beverley is on the roster. And even if he is, I don't necessarily think he's a every night rotation player for the team.
Now, not too long ago, the Grizzlies traded Grayson Allen to try to clear this logjam. Do you see this becoming an issue again? How does this maybe resolve itself now that you're bringing in, as you say, maybe at least Patrick Beverley here?
Well, they brought in 3 players and sent out 1. And so at the moment, they have 17 players under guaranteed contract for next season. Once you hit opening night, you could only have 15. And so 2 players right now who are currently under contract for the Grizzlies will have to be gone one way or the other before the season starts. I think Rondo is the most likely player, to find his way out one way or the other. Daniel Oturue, who they brought in, could be one of those players who's on the cutting room floor. It could be Sam Merrill, who came in from the Grayson Allen trade. And so one way or another, of the 17 players currently under contract, 2 of them can't be here on opening night because you're only allowed to carry 15. And so, they do have more players right now than they have room for. That is not uncommon at this point in a season. I mean, these things tend to get sorted out, during training camp or in the days leading up to the season.
And final night for the NBA Summer League for the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. What, if any, takeaways have you had from these last couple weeks?
I think the most meaningful thing that happens in Summer League is when a second-year NBA player performs poorly. And luckily, good for the Grizzlies, that has not been the case, right? Their return players, Xavier Tillman and Desmond Bane, have been very good, as you expect them to be. They are not going to play tonight, I don't think. So you're looking at your rookies and Santi Aldama and Zaire Williams. And I think Zaire Williams, has generally, shown enough that you want to see the combination of size and athleticism and ball handling that you think over, the coming years can develop into the kind of player the Grizzlies want. He's going to be a multi-year project, but I think he's shown the tools that you wanted to see.
Chris Herrington of the Daily Memphian, thank you so much for taking some time. Always appreciate hearing from you.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Clayton.